December 17, 2017. America warned is unprepared for Trump's cataclysmic destruction of deep state. A gravely worded new Security Council (SC) report circulating in the Kremlin today is warning that the American people are mentally unprepared for President Donald Trump's soon-expected cataclysmic destruction of his deep state enemies, and whose shadow government operatives are now in total panic after forces loyal to Trump discovered they're having stolen a staggering $21 trillion from the U.S. Treasury in a mass scheme first devised by the Clinton regime in 1998 and whose amount exceeds the entire United States national debt of $20 trillion. According to this report, over the past year the American people have been fed a steady diet of fake news propaganda by their deep state-aligned mainstream media alleging that President Trump had colluded with Russia to win his election, and that resulted in the appointment of former FBI Director Robert Mueller as a special counsel to investigate the facts of, and who has spent on his investigation a paltry $3.2 million. With another $3.5 million having been spent separately on this investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice in support of Mueller. On 9 December, this report continues, the Security Council confirmed that Special Counsel Mueller's investigation was nothing more than an elaborate ruse meant to insulate known Obama-Clinton deep state operatives from being able to further damage President Trump. CR report Russia-China shaken to very core as Trump moves in for deep state kill shot, and whose 2 indictments and 2 guilty pleas, obtained so far, are so riddled with U.S. constitutional violations. Their certainty of being thrown out of court is 100%. To understand how Special Counsel Mueller deliberately corrupted his own investigation, this report explains, one needs first to understand a critical American legal term called fruit of the poisonous tree, which is doctrine that extends the exclusionary rule to make evidence inadmissible in court if it was derived from evidence that was illegally obtained, with the exclusionary rule preventing Mueller from using any evidence gathered in violation of the United States Constitution. To how Special Counsel Mueller used the fruit of the poisonous tree in his investigation, this report details, was in his violating the Presidential Transition Act of 1963 PTA, and as noted by President Trump's attorney in his 16 December demand letter to the U.S. Congress about this gross violation of the U.S. Constitution, and who wrote, "Dear Senators and Representatives, I write on behalf of Trump for America, Incorporated, TFA, also known as the Presidential Transition Team, PTT, for the following purposes: to inform the committees of unlawful conduct that undermines the Presidential Transition Act of 1963, as amended, and will impair the ability of future presidential transition teams to candidly discuss policy and internal matters that benefit the country as a whole. More specifically, we write to inform you that a career staff at the General Services Administration, GSA, have unlawfully produced TFA's private materials, including privileged communications, to the Special Counsel's office, and B. Although the Special Counsel's office was aware that the GSA did not own or control the records in question, the Special Counsel's office has extensively used the materials in question, including portions that are susceptible to claims of privilege, and without notifying TFA or taking customary precautions to protect TFA's rights and privileges. We understand that the Special Counsel's office has subsequently made extensive use of the materials it obtained from the GSA, including materials that are susceptible to privilege claims. Additionally, certain portions of the PTT materials the Special Counsel's office obtained from the GSA, including materials that are susceptible to privilege claims, have been leaked to the press by unknown persons. Moreover, the leaked records have been provided to the press without important context and in a manner that appears calculated to inflict maximum reputational damage on the PTT and its personnel, without the inclusion of records showing that PTT personnel acted properly, which in turn forces TFA to make an impossible choice between it protecting its legal privileges by keeping its records confidential and B. waiving its privileges by publicly releasing records that counteract the selective leaks and misguided news reports. In short, Since the GSA improperly provided them to the special counsel's office, the PTT's privileged materials have not only been reviewed privately by the special counsel's office without notification to TFA, they have also been misused publicly. While special counsel Mueller has been shredding the U.S. Constitution at every turn of his sham investigation using his paltry budget, though, this report says, at the exact same time the most important and consequential investigation currently being kept from the American people by their mainstream deep state-aligned propaganda media is the one being conducted by Inspector General Michael Horowitz, who heads the Office of the Inspector General OIG, overseeing its over 500 investigators and its nearly $700 million yearly budget. Important to note about Inspector General Horowitz, this report continues, is that on 12 January, 8 days before Trump was sworn into office, he met with then-President-elect Trump transition official, and soon-to-be U.S. Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, after which he announced that his formidable office was opening an immediate investigation into everything surrounding the FBI and U.S. Justice Department's handling of all matters relating to Hillary Clinton, with his stating that he could recommend criminal charges for anyone found to have broken the law, and whose last public statement, on 2 December, stated, "For immediate release." December 2, 2017. The Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General released the following statement in response to inquiries today. The January 2017 statement issued by the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General OIG announcing its review of allegations regarding various actions of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in advance of the 2016 election stated that the OIG review would, among other things, consider whether certain underlying investigative decisions were based on improper considerations, and that we also would include issues that might arise during the course of the review. The OIG has been reviewing allegations involving communications between certain individuals, and will report its findings regarding those allegations promptly upon completion of the review of them. In Inspector General Horowitz's 2 December public statement, this report continues, the most critical words of his to note was his stating that his investigation would include issues that might arise during the course of the review, and that most certainly include the Obama-Clinton crimes surrounding the Uranium One scandal, and that shocking new revelations show the FBI knew about at the time. Even more terrifying to the deep state about Inspector General Horowitz's investigation, though, this report details, has been his cooperation with the renowned Michigan State University economics professor expert Mark Skidmore Ph.D. and the equally renowned Catherine Austin Fitts in uncovering deep state economic crimes, with Fitts having known President Trump since their classmate days at the Wharton School, being the publisher of the highly influential Solari Report, her supporting Trump for president, but who, also, in early 2016, grimly warned that the pyramid of lies surrounding the entire U.S. government was ready to implode, and who stated, "So, are criminals running the U.S. government?" Yes, the American government is running the central banking warfare model globally, and it depends heavily on criminal profits. If you look at the general population supports that. The general population supports that as long as they can pretend they don't have responsibility for that. There are millions of Americans getting paid to put a pretty face to it. The party with the debt growth model is over, and that means the party is over for a lot of people who are unproductive. Far from these deep state crimes against the American people being a pretty face, though, this report further details, drive. Mark Skidmore and Catherine Austin Fitts, in their mind-shattering research paper titled DoD and HUD Missing Money Supporting Documentation, documented how over $21 trillion had been stolen from the Department of Defense DoD and the Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD, but with OIG Inspector General Horowitz having to aid them in keeping alive the U.S. government links proving this fact, as deep state operatives were continually trying to destroy them, and as drive. Skidmore and Fitts described in their 12 December update. subsequent to the publication of Drive. Skidmore's report. The Office of the Inspector General at the Department of Defense (DoD) and the Department of Housing and Urban Development (HUD) took reports offline. Consequently, our primary links in the table below are to the same documents posted on our website. We have preserved the original DoD and HUD links in the footnotes if they result in a 404 error or not found message. This indicates they were taken down or moved subsequent to publication. On October 5, 2017, we discovered that the link to the report Army General Fund adjustments not adequately documented or supported had been disabled. Within several days, the links to other OIG documents we identified in our search were also disabled. The sequential non-random nature of this disabling process suggests a purposeful decision on the part of OIG to make key documents unavailable to the public via the website, as opposed to website reorganization, etc. We also revisited the website intermittently to see whether the documents had been reposted under different URLs. Until very recently they had not been reposted. On December 11, 2017, we learned that key documents had been reposted on the OIG website, but with different URLs. Documents now appear to be reposted on new URLs. As we find the new URLs, we are adding them in the footnotes entitled New Link next to the original link. Upon President Trump receiving Drive. Mark Skidmore's and Catherine Austin Fitz's mind-shattering research paper documenting this deep state theft of over $21 trillion from the American people. This report continues. He immediately unleashed over 1,400 investigating auditors on the Pentagon to conduct the first-ever in history audit of this massive war-making machine. However, this report says, as Catherine Austin Fitz had detailed, that these deep-state criminals operate using a central banking warfare model. These shadow government enemies of President Trump were quick to retaliate against him by illegally setting up secret bases in Syria, where they are now training ISIS terrorists to reignite war with the UK-based independent weapons research organisation called Conflict Armament Research (CAR), also, shockingly detailing how the CIA had been providing weapons to ISIS all throughout the years of this conflict, too. With Russia having announced on 7 December that ISIS was defeated in Syria, and 2 days later, on 9 December, Iraq announcing that ISIS had been defeated in their nation, too, this report explains. The deep state-aligned mainstream propaganda media has yet to inform the American people of this fact and is due to their knowing that Russia will soon attack and destroy these illegal CIA bases training barbaric ISIS terrorists before they can cause any more horrors, thus igniting a global war that these deep state monsters believe they need in order to survive. As to how close President Trump's cataclysmic destruction of the deep state is, this report continues, can be seen in the growing Clinton body count that is most commonly known as Arkanside and denotes the mysterious deaths of witnesses to the crimes of former President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary, and whose latest victims are the Canadian pharmaceutical billionaire Barry Sherman and his wife Honey, both of whom were scheduled to be interviewed by OIG Inspector General Horowitz investigators this week about the Clintons' crimes in Haiti, and whose deaths came just days after another Horowitz witness, named Drive. Dean Lorich, was, likewise, mysterious killed before he could testify about the Clintons' crimes in Haiti, and all of whom now join former Haitian official Klaus Oberwein, who was another witness to the Clintons' crimes in Haiti, suicided this past July just prior to his testifying, too. Though President Trump has been preparing the American people for the takedown of the deep state by his first publicly exposing their perverted sex lives, with new revelations to come being warned will rock the nation this coming week, this report concludes. Security Council intelligence analysts note that the Obama-Clinton supporting search giant Google is now using its immense power to censor content, to include the shocking sexual predatory evidence against the leftist MSNBC host Chris Matthews, and that result of will be these people not knowing the full truth as to why Trump is jailing so many former top Obama-Clinton officials, and that will, undoubtedly, lead to the full-scale George Soros-led Purple Revolution in America erupting, and that the Clintons signaled had begun the very day Hillary Clinton gave her speech acknowledging Trump had won, but has been undermining with her deep state allies ever since.